Some of you may know that this is a special video, mainly because I own this car. What's up everybody? I'm Khyzyl Salim and welcome to Rendered with Kyza. For today's car, we're going to be working on a C5 Corvette, and I really wanted to explore creating a conceivable build that I could potentially create in the future with my company LTO. Honestly, it's a car I've always loved. It just, pop-up headlights, they get me every time. One car particularly in Gran Turismo that caught my attention was the C5R, the race variant. Look at that, that looks pretty spicy. Ho ho, ho ho ho, ho ho ho. Let's get into the build. I mean, this is quite a fun one for me, purely because it's a car that I personally own as well. And you may think, why did I get a C5 Corvette? It's a bit of a random choice. But honestly, it's a car I've always loved. Like, I've always loved just the shape of the C5. But I think also the fact it's basically the US version of an RX-7. My friend Alex from Tofu Garage, some of you may have heard of him before. We did a road trip from Germany to Poland, drove, collected the car. I now own a stanced C5 Corvette on air suspension, and it's pretty cool. A lot of people, when I bought the C5, they're like, well, what are you going to do with it? And it's a good question, because a while ago I did an Aria Memiya variant of a C5 Corvette. I did just for the fun of it. It's a very JDM looking car. I was like, why not? Let's try it. And that went down really well. But I feel like if I was to do something for real, I should do something a little bit more in time with the Corvette. One car particularly in Gran Turismo that caught my attention was the C5R. It was just how everything was set up. The sort of wide body. It looked aggressive. They did get rid of the pop-up headlights, but didn't really bug me that much. Just the front fog lights, it got me. And it was one of my favorite race cars, and still to this day is one of my favorite race cars. And I'm now seeing that there is actually like a road going version of what the car looks like without its livery on, which is very interesting. So I would really like to do my own version of a C5R, and it could potentially be a thing that we actually end up building as well. So I'm going to start looking for reference images. I will use software called PureRef, which I've used in my previous videos. Oh wow, look at this. That's cool. That's awesome. I think I'll retain the pop-ups as well. Like rear diffuser, awesome. Let's get an image of this in here. I like this. I think it's a Leigenfelter, a tuning company that made this rear overhang spoiler, which I always thought was a pretty cool look for this car. As usual, I'll head to square.com. This is where I will get the model of the car from, but mine's not a Z06, so I went with the Targa version, but this is typically where I'll buy the model from. And then I'll load that into 3ds Max and then kind of get started there and open that up. So I think first off, again, just like usual, I will start by applying materials, get the car looking as realistic as I can. Just helps me visualize what the car will look like. Seeing how we can kind of make this look more like my own version of a C5R. Okay, so now you'll see that I've got my materials applied to the car very quickly, very roughly. So I always, can visualize what it looks like starting from a stock base car. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to delete the wheels, because I can quickly import my own and drop the car, get ride height looking to what I want it. The car already sits really low as well. That's one thing, that the chassis of this car is already very low. So I could actually leave it at that height. All right, let's get started on that front bumper. guys, a bit of a midway through kind of update. As you can see, I've got the rough shape laid out. So kind of front bumper, I've remodeled. You can see I'm just starting to build upon the shapes that are there. I've also kind of got the basis for some kind of wide body fenders going in there. Don't know if these will stay final, but it's quite close. They're quite nice as well. I mean, I've tried to follow the original body lines and shape of the Corvette. It's a very curvy car, so trying to just make it look slightly OEM++. I think what I want to do now is I want to extend the rear kind of fender section out, and I think it could become a really cool overhanging rear ducktail, a bit like in the reference that I had here. Quite liking the direction that it's heading in so far. Yeah, so I'm just going to continue fleshing this out. I may do a hood design as well to mimic the C5R. I'll remove the front block, put some lights in there, and then start digging through the vents and everything. But for the most part, I'm happy with the progress at the moment. It seems to be lining up nicely. All kind of shapes are really cool. Okay, so we are pretty much done with this. So I know at the start I kind of wanted to do a variant on the C5R, and it kind of developed and changed from that initial idea. So I spent quite a bit of time going back, refining parts, and it's still not 100% by any means, but it's almost there. I quite like how it's looking at the moment. You'll also notice that it's now sporting some different wheels. So I designed a tri-spoke wheel design last year, inspired by Advans, like classic Advans you see on JDM cars and SA3Rs, I think. I love those wheels, and they kind of have that JDM vibe that I really like. So I thought, all right, yeah, I'll throw him on here. Why not? Looks pretty cool. Can see myself doing that on my Corvette at some point, maybe. Whole new front bumper, and I kind of integrated the front splitter from the C5R into the bumper, and I felt it kind of worked in a more JDM type manner. So like if we look here, this kind of element here, you know, kind of insert there on the front bumper as well, and then just did a secondary splitter below. I've done my own variant of this hood design. It looked a bit weird to start off with, so I'm still unsure about it, but it's there, it's not bad. Maybe in a different color might help, maybe in a studio setting as well, seeing that. And you'll see the rear as well. I've kind of created this rear overhang, which I really like. I think it came together quite well. But the thing I love about this is that it's buildable. Like I could give this to our CAD designer and get a scan done on my Corvette and make this real. I think there's only one thing left to do that kind of takes priority, and if you've seen my Corvette, you'll know that it's not white. That's what I meant to do. Look at that. That looks pretty spicy. God, that looks pretty cool. I still tried to keep the original lines of the C5, and I think I managed to do that. And there are certain elements here that I want to make carbon. I think that whole rear section would be very, very cool carbon. Yeah, really happy with how this came out. It's kind of wide, still OEM looking, still keeping to the body lines and shapes. Just kind of that little bit extra, inspired by the C5R. Yeah, I think we nailed it. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe if you want to. Hit that little bell notification. And I think we'll head back to the 1980s for the next one.